4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to BQ Prime. I'm Hiral Dadia. Overall, if you go to see, we've just concluded the Reliance AGM, and it seems no major announcements that have come in there. So they're betting big on AI, have announced Geo Air Fiber launch date as well, and accelerating to achieve net carbon zero by 2035. Now, what the key announcements mean for the stock is something what we need to understand, because overall, in today's session, the company has ended lower almost by 1.3%. It was trading at around levels of around 2000, between that 2,450 to 2,480 kind of a range, but closure has been much lower. Joining us on the show to discuss more, we have Mayuresh Joshi, Head of Research at Willam O'Neill, and Abhijeet Bora, Deputy VP Research Analyst at Sharekhan by BNP Paribas, joining in. Good evening and welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Evening.
Thank you.
Mayuresh, let me come to you first. From a market perspective, what is your key takeaway from the AGM?
So I think a lot more was expected from the AGM, but obviously it's an AGM. You cannot have the entire business strategy discussed in an AGM. And therefore, specifically on geo financials, I think the market might be a little bit disappointed, because they might be wanting to hear a lot more in terms of the strategy, in terms of the plan, and in terms of what they're probably construing for the entire business construct itself. Having said that, I think the overall framework that we probably got, it might be a digital lending platform. They're probably looking at aspects in terms of the tie-up with BlackRock for asset management solutions. They're looking into the life insurance segment in terms of foray for both life as well as non-life, and as well as the consumer durable part of the business itself through digital innovations and the elements of credit ratings, where a large universe is probably not touched upon. I think you're probably getting some hints in terms of where Geo Financial is probably heading. Obviously, a team is being put in place as we are speaking, and the exact strategization in terms of how this will all take place, the exact foray, the kind of pricing, the kind of expectations of AUM growth, the target audience across states, being a digital platform, I think it's going to be open across the country as we speak. And they've obviously got the backbone support of both the Geo platform services as well as retail in terms of the physical presence as well. So a little bit disappointing on the Geo financials front, but I think a more strategic outlook will come through in the next few days from the Geo financial management. Retail and the Geo, I think the elaboration was very, very diverse. And I think the street would have liked what they probably heard from both these businesses. On O2C, typically, I think the company is transitioning as we speak. And even with the new energy verticals, I think no additional capex is what probably I heard. Maybe I was wrong. But no additional capex means that the targets that they probably be set in terms of the battery storage capacities by 26, the solar capacities by 25, and 100 CBG plants in the next 5 years. That seems to be on track to enable Reliance becoming a net exporter in general of green hydrogen, which will be, by the way, in the next few years, the theme to be played out as the world plays towards carbon neutrality.
Absolutely. There were a whole host of, broad-based statements, specifically with regards to update on green hydrogen initiative, as well as the progress in terms of the new energy business, but retail deleveraging or value unlocking of retail as well as geo businesses, and details about geo financial services. These were a few of the points that were absolutely missing, which the street may not be enthused about. Let me, in fact, head across to Abhijeet and see what his views are. Abhijeet, specifically talking about the oil and gas side as well, they've said they will have around 30 MMS CDC production, which has almost reached zero, right? Now, how do you see this?
See, this is already well known to the market. Earlier in the Q1 results also, they highlighted that they have started the production from their MJ field. So this AGM has nothing new to tell about the ramp-up guidelines or the ramp-up time, because these already are very well known to the markets now for the ramp-up at the MJ field and the overall gas production being taken up to 30 mm SCMD in FY24. So, and this oil and gas business accounting for very small portion in the overall valuation compared to other large businesses of O2C, retail, and Geo. So I think that this will not drive anything on the stock performance side because that is well known to the markets.
Right. And how about the gigafactories integrated solar module production capability? Because they had said that between 25 to 30, they would want to set up most of these facilities, which is the gigafactories.
See, the thing is that what they said that their investment of close to $10 billion or 75,000 crore for this new energy business is on stream and going as per the announcements earlier. So they just reiterated their plans which they have highlighted in the previous AGMs, and just they put there was nothing new in terms of putting a new thought to all these stuff. Just there was a reiteration of what they has announced earlier. So I don't like to infer more on this giga.
Right. In fact, Mayuresh, coming to you from a valuation perspective, we're looking at Reliance Retail, which is valued at say around 8.2 lakh crores.
Yeah.
If you talk about RIL's market cap, that's around 16.8 lakh crores, somewhere thereabouts. Now, this clearly tells you retail is 50% of the parent's market cap, right? Now, what is then left of RIL? Because assuming taking Geo into consideration, say you take a 5 lakh crore valuation basis, what Airtel has in terms of market cap, you're just left with a 3.3 lakh crore in terms of Reliance's core business. Now, is it right to say that Reliance itself with the core business is then undervalued?
With the transition that we are seeing here, clearly, I'll give you an example. I think you look at what is happening with Saudi Arabia's Aramco. Over the last few years, they've clearly ramped up their business model from being a typical crude stroke diesel producer to a more O2C giant. And that transition is happening as we speak. So I think the world's best companies are entering the petrochemical business, and specifically in the petrochemical business towards the O2C business, which is clearly transitioning from oils to chemicals. Now, two aspects here. One, I think the margin profile for the chemical business is relatively better and more stable than the traditional oil business as we are transitioning into renewables, electrification, so on and so forth. The next few quarters, you're also going to see a huge amount of supply coming in from China. And therefore, the kind of spreads that you're probably looking, both in terms of deltas created for the polymer and the polyester chains, that might be a little bit subdued. And therefore, value-added products that will come out from the chemical chain is obviously going to be a huge beneficial impact for companies and the large-scale companies like an Aramco or Reliance in that aspect. You would have heard in the speech, they are adding 13 new feedstock options. And therefore, with the optionality that Reliance probably has in terms of feedstock availability, the sheer outperformance in the refining part of the business compared to Singapore GRMs, or better margins on the chemical side of the business, and the entire transitioning happens over the next few quarters, does imply value. You're asking about the gas part of the business. They've already hit 30 MMS MD. You're probably looking at numbers in terms of realizations at $10.8 per MMBTU. They've obviously got a cap at 12.12. But somewhere, I think, as they start ramping up, I think that leverage probably comes on the gas part of the business as well. Core business, transitioning, I think there is still ample value.
Right. So, but is it undervalued currently then?
Probably yes, because I think the street expects to believe this transition actually taking place over the next few years. And as the transition happens, my own sense is that the ascribed value for the core business as the transition happens will get re-rated. So yeah, if you put it simply, undervalued as we speak, but with the horizon over the next few years.
Right. Right. Abhijeet, how are you looking at it? If I have to take the same question with you, what does your SOTP actually tell you in terms of a valuation perspective?
Valuation for the new energy business or like the
No,
entire?
overall, when you talk about Reliance Retail, which is at 8.2 currently, that's what everyone's looking at. 8.2 lakh crores with the RIL market cap of 16.8. So 50% of the parent's value is for Reliance Retail. And let's assume that the Geo business is valued at 5 lakh crore basis the market cap of Airtel. What is just left with Reliance's core business is 3.3 lakh crores, right? So basis this, how is your valuation model looking like?
See, the core business, O2C business, it is a steady business. If you see, they are not adding more capacities. The margins are volatile, so we normally value it at a mid-cycle level of margins of say Singapore GRM of $6-7, and some premium for companies like Reliance, which has the ability to process higher crude. So the O2C business would be in the total stock price of say around 2,400 rupees odd. It will be around 700 rupees will be accounting from that. So you can 1,000 rupees maybe for the retail business, which we see there is a possibility of uptick from the recent strategic investment, which is higher than what average street valuation is for this business. So basically, as per the information given by you, there is a undervaluation either on the consumer side or either on the O2C side. So there is definitely something is being not fully factored in the price.
Right. Moving on, Mayuresh, my last question coming to you is, from a stock perspective, in the last 1 month, it's down around 4.5%. They ended lower as well. How are you expecting tomorrow morning opening in terms of the stock price?
Broadly going by the statements, it might have a negative tick purely on sentimental basis. But I think if you have a long drawn process on what the company has probably spoken about, say in the previous AGMs, when we were discussing, I think 4 years, 5 years back on how Geo will unfold, how retail will unfold, and what numbers we probably see 4 years, 5 years down the line. I think 4, 5 years down the line, the new energy verticals, including the solar PV manufacturing module, the battery storage module, as well as the CBG plants coming in along with green hydrogen and the wind park that he was talking about. I think that might add to sustainability optionality value that exists for Reliance at the end of 4 to 5 years. Tomorrow, sentimental downtick probably on the stock for lack of statements related to the geo-financial and probably largely what the state was expecting in terms of other business segments as well. But a longer run process, if things work out in their favor, my own sense is that there is still a lot of value to be drawn from.
Right. So I think then tomorrow's session, a direct impact in terms of Nifty is something that we could be expecting as well. Abhijeet, last question with on that one. What would your stance be on a Reliance Industries basis, the commentary from the AGM, and what would you advise investors to do?
See, definitely the AGM was lacking a few announcements in terms of the likely value and looking for retail and geo. So that will be a negative thing. So if there is any fall in the stock prices, we believe that the long-term story is compelling, given they are more towards now focusing towards transition of their O2C business and uh, also focusing on growth in the consumer sector in businesses where geo financial services can be a long-term value creator for the investors. So long term, we advise investors to buy the stock on any dip.
Right. So buy on dip should be the strategy as well. One should be watching out for. Thank you, Mayuresh. Thank you, Abhijeet, so much for joining us on the show and sharing the views. But clearly, it seems like a non-event from the commentary that we've got from the AGM. And no major announcements that the street was anticipating have come up. And that's what will not enthuse the shareholders as well in tomorrow's day of trade. So it's going to be an interesting day to see how Reliance opens up in trade and what's the counter impact that we have on Nifty 50, taking into consideration its weightage as well. That's all that we have on this session. Thanks for watching, and lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay tuned to BQ Prime.